What's up, plant junkies? Jody here for another plant video from plantjunkiecreations.com. I'm going to be going over the plant basics of this beautiful, stunning Hoya Burmanica. Show you how I successfully propagated these in just 2 weeks and take you along with me to transplant those propagations. I'm just so in love with this beautiful plant and I'm so happy I own it. What I specifically love are the narrow leaves that it has. It just gives me like this Asian Zen vibe and reminds me a lot of the Hoya Bella and how it grows up and out. And it also reminds me of the fishtail Hoya, also known as the Hoya polynera, and the fact that it just looks like a fishtail to me. It has this sway about it. And also I've noticed on this plant, it has some white variegation, white freckles on the leaves. And on this plant, it has 4 growth points with 3 on the way, which I'm so excited about because it's going to make this plant that much fuller. The flowers on this plant actually develop on each node and just kind of hang down. Reminds me a lot of the Hoya Bella flowers. The light requirement for this plant tolerates medium bright to bright indirect light. I keep this plant behind me down low here under some LED lights. I also have 3 windows in this room, so it receives a lot of that indirect bright light. The water requirement for this plant in this 3-inch terracotta pot, I water on a 3 to 5 day basis. I try to mimic like the tropical rainforest in a sense that I'll just splash it with a little bit of water, let it drain out, and then I splash it again, and then I let it drain out. It does dry quickly being in this chunky mix, but if you enjoy plants, you don't mind watering. At least I don't. Which now leads to the soil that I use for this plant. It likes a well-draining, epiphytic, chunky mix. So what I use is coconut husk, cocoa core, a little bit of peat moss to absorb some of the moisture, so there's just a little bit holding in there, some charcoal, some perlite, and I might have added a little bit of worm castings. I don't remember, but this is like the perfect mix for this Hoya Burmanica. You'll want to fertilize 2 times a month in the growing season. I like to rotate between my fertilizers. I specifically like using the orchid bloom to help encourage Hoya blooms. And then I'll rotate between, I'll combine these 2, Gringo Rasta Rise Up as well as Super Thrive. They just, all of these fertilizers have like the perfect amount of nutrients to just help absorb and give it life, new growth, and as well as blooming. The propagation of the Hoya Burmanica is really simple. I have a video about 2 weeks ago in my feed down below of me propagating this Burmanica in perlite. I had a lid on it and I placed it in a very warm, bright environment, kept it moist enough to give that humidity with the condensation in this small miniature box here. Yeah, and in 2 weeks I've noticed that, you know, the leaves are plump. it's actually put off new growth. So I'm going to be pulling that out and transplanting them in some terracotta pots. The soil that I'm using is that chunky mix, but in this mix I actually added some tree fern, which is going to help with that drainage. So tree fern is like a bunch of this, just kind of like woven together. So I broke it apart. I figured if I added more wood, since Hoyas are epiphytic, that it would do really well with that. In this mixture, I also want to add my Gringo Rasta Rise Up that I use to fertilize with, but I also just love to add it to the soil. It just really like helps with just keeping that plant healthy as it transitions. So let's see what these cuttings look like. So it's been 2 weeks, and this is the longer strand. And it's very small, minor, but there is a growth point in between. And then the roots have taken here, like on the stem. It didn't grow in the node there, but it grew again below on the stem and at the base there. So this is actually ready to transplant. And then this one, I can't remember if I lost a leaf or not. I was a little concerned, but it put off a new growth point and has some really strong roots coming. So let's get this in the mix here. So I was looking at the mix and I wanted it a little bit more well draining, so I just drained out some perlite to get rid of that powder debris that likes to sit in the bag with the perlite. And now I'm going to mix this. I mean, I might have added a little too much, but it's better to have a better well draining mix opposed to suffocating these roots. And with the transition from perlite to a woody well draining mix is really nice, meaning if you were doing water, propagating in water, you would have to water more frequent. So I'm just gonna lightly put this in here. I don't want to pack it down. Just kind of let the roots breathe. And I'm gonna water it, and that'll pack it down. And with this one, I'm thinking I'm kind of just gonna tilt it over a little, since that new growth point is probably gonna just grow outwards. And I'm just kind of putting the soil medium where the base of that root, of the top of it, where the root is, so they're all covered. I will water this. I'm gonna put these in a humid environment, so a propagation box under some bright light, LED grow lights. So I won't have to water these as frequently because it'll be in that moist environment. But as soon as I probably see more growth coming out of these plants, I'm going to take them out and then water just like I water this one on a 5 to 7 day basis. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Also be sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy watching plant care videos.